Mama Miscalculates by Mermelstein, Thanksgiving 2017. One fall morning, Mama Possum woke up and realized it was time to bake the pumpkin bread for the Possum family Thanksgiving feast. The prior year, she wished she had baked a few extra loaves. So this year, she was determined not to wind up short. She sat down with a paper and pencil to calculate how many she should bake. Let's see, she thought. There are 10 slices in each loaf. I have 13 daughters. Alana, Aliza, Kathy, Francine, Helen, Leora, Maya, Pat, Rebecca, Rena, Shoshana, Simona, and Yakira. So, I'll need 130 slices. So that would be 130 slices, and divided by 10 slices per loaf, that would be 13 loaves. But I ought to make a few extra loaves in case company drops in. And it would be good to make a few more to keep in the freezer for Hanukkah. Then Rena said, Mama, let's make some extra for the soup kitchen. Everyone there will enjoy some homemade pumpkin bread on Thanksgiving. Certainly, said Mama, I will bake some extra. So she finished off her calculations and decided to bake 25 loaves. She took out her recipe card to check she had all the ingredients. Possum family famously delicious pumpkin bread. She sent her 13 grown Jills, no Jacks in this family, out to the forest to collect enough walnuts for 25 loaves of pumpkin bread. And she went off to the pumpkin patch to select the pumpkin herself. She wanted a really large one. She searched and searched until she found a ginormous one, and she rolled it home and into her kitchen. Perhaps it was a bit big, but it was such an attractive pumpkin, and she could use any leftovers to make some pumpkin pie. Then she drove to the supermarket to buy the rest of the ingredients. She decided to buy some extra, just in case. Her supermarket cart did seem quite full, and it was certainly a challenge to get all that stuff into her car. But Mama was too busy to worry about it. Meanwhile, her 13 grown daughters were scouring the forest for walnuts, and they were doing a great job. They used their tails to climb to the top of the walnut trees to find the best nuts. They collected a tremendous number of walnuts and scampered back to crack and chop them for the pumpkin bread. What fun it was to work together as a family. While they were hard at work, Mama put the pumpkin in the oven. It did seem a tight squeeze, but Mama was too busy to worry about it. When it came time to mix all the ingredients, Mama started with her small-sized wooden mixing bowl. It was not big enough, so she tried her medium-sized blue plastic mixing bowl, but it was not big enough either. So she tried her large-sized yellow vintage glass mixing bowl, but even that was not big enough. In fact, there seemed to be so much pumpkin bread batter that Mama had to mix the batter in the bathtub. She needed to use a shovel to mix it all. Mama did think it was quite strange how much room the pumpkin bread batter was taking up, but Mama was too busy to worry about it. When it came time to put the pumpkin bread batter in the aluminum foil pans, Mama discovered there was way too much pumpkin bread batter for 25 aluminum foil pans. She took out an extra 5 aluminum foil pans, but those quickly filled, and still there was tons of pumpkin bread batter. So she filled yet another 10 aluminum foil pans, and still the tub was full of pumpkin bread batter. Thought Mama, something is wrong here, but she was too busy to worry about it. She just kept filling aluminum foil pans, 50, 60, 70, and she was still filling aluminum foil pans, although slowly the level of the pumpkin bread batter in the tub was getting lower. 71, 72, 73, 74, and just enough to fill one last pan. That made 75 aluminum foil pans of pumpkin bread batter. That was a lot of aluminum foil pans of pumpkin batter. How did it happen? But Mama was too busy to worry about it. She turned the oven to 350 degrees, set the timer to 1 hour, and then she shoved and squeezed until all 75 aluminum foil pans were lined up and down and around her big oven. Finally, Mama made a cup of tea for herself and her 13 grown daughters, and they all put their feet up to discuss what had happened. How had her pumpkin bread batter for 25 loaves of pumpkin bread turned into enough for 75 loaves of pumpkin bread? And what would they do with all that pumpkin bread once it was baked? The family talked and talked while the delicious aroma of pumpkin bread filled the house. The pumpkin breads rose and rose in their aluminum foil pans and began to push against the door of the oven. Mama had to lean against the oven door for the last 15 minutes of baking to keep it closed to cool. Finally, ring! The oven timer went off. Mama tested to see that the 75 loaves of pumpkin bread were fully baked. Perfect. She took the 75 loaves of pumpkin bread out of the oven and found places for all of them to cool. Meanwhile, the family talked on and on about the mystery of the too many loaves of pumpkin bread. How had it happened? Was the pumpkin just too big? Were there just too many nuts added? Were the eggs unusually large? Wait a minute, said Rebecca. Let me see that recipe again. She checked it over carefully. Yep, everything seemed to be in order. Right amount of oil and water, right amount of eggs, flour, check, spices, check, raisins, check. Oh my, said Rebecca, I think I see the problem. Mama, you've done everything right. You followed the recipe exactly, but you made one tiny little mistake. Oh dear, said Mama, whatever can it be? I always try to be so careful in my measuring when I'm baking. I've never made a baking mistake like this. Mama, said Rebecca, you forgot to read the recipe fully before you started. When you held the recipe card, you forgot to read the spot hidden under your thumb. This recipe does not make 1 loaf of pumpkin bread. It makes 3 loaves of pumpkin bread. When you made 25 times the recipe, you were not making 25 loaves of pumpkin bread. You were making 3 times 25 loaves of pumpkin bread, which is 75 loaves of pumpkin bread. That is 750 slices of pumpkin bread. Oh, silly me, said Mama. I feel like a dope. How could I make such a ginormous mistake? Now I ruined Thanksgiving by drowning everyone in pumpkin bread. We'll never be able to eat so much pumpkin bread. It is not a good thing to waste food. Whatever will I do? Mama, said Maya, don't make a mountain out of loaves of pumpkin bread. We will find a passel of mouths to enjoy all this delicious pumpkin bread. In fact, it turns out to be just the number we need, because you had forgotten to take into account the 13 Joeys in the pouch of each of your grown daughters. And so it turns out there will be a lot more mouths to eat pumpkin bread at the Thanksgiving feast than you originally calculated. One mama plus 13 grown daughters makes 14. Plus 169 Joeys makes 183 mouths. So if each mouth eats 2 slices of pumpkin bread, after all, it is famously delicious, and takes 1 extra piece of pumpkin bread home for later, that makes 549 slices. That leaves just enough left over to save 5 loaves of pumpkin bread, or 50 slices, for unexpected company that might drop in. 10 loaves of pumpkin bread, 100 slices to leave in the freezer for Hanukkah, and 51 slices of pumpkin bread for Rena to bring to the soup kitchen for everyone there to enjoy at their Thanksgiving feast. Then you'll have accounted for every single one of the 750 slices of pumpkin bread. Not a slice wasted. "Oh dear," said Mama, "perhaps I should have made a couple of extra loaves."